According to tradition, the Japanese imperial dynasty began in the year 660 BCE, when Jimmu, Japan's first emperor, ascended to the throne. Some people, such as all historians, like to poke holes in the story by pointing out things like the total lack of historical evidence, or the fact that Jimmu lived to the age of 126, or how his great-grandmother was the sun. In fact, the first emperor we're certain existed doesn't show up for another 1,000 years. But that hasn't dampened the idea of Jimmu as founder of Japan. He's the reason we don't have to go to work on February 11th, the date that Jimmu was supposedly crowned. Japan's most ancient texts, the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki, hold detailed accounts of Jimmu's conquest of eastern Japan. Nowadays, they're famously difficult to read, but if you've seen a movie in your lifetime, you might already be familiar with the 3-act structure of Jimmu's story. By the way, I can't tell you how many times while writing this that I mistyped Jimmu as Jimmy, so I suggest you imagine throughout the story that Japan's first emperor is played by Bob Odenkirk. Jimmu, or as he is less commonly known, Kamu Yamato Iharibiko, or Hikohoho Demi to his friends, grew up in Kyushu, where the gods lived. Jimmu and his family felt sorry for the, quote, remote regions who do not yet enjoy the blessings of imperial rule. Jimmu's older brother, Itsuse, informed the future emperor of a land far to the east, a valley surrounded by verdant mountains. There, they could make their capital. Jimmu came ashore near Osaka, and informed the local chieftains that at last their long national nightmare was over. He had arrived to become their emperor. The chieftains responded with a hail of arrows. Jimmu's men were overcome, and his brother was grievously wounded. Jimmu retreated south to Wakayama. It was at Minato Fukiage Shrine that Itsuse, with his dying breath, said, "Brother, we are the children of the sun. We lost because we faced the sun in battle. We ought to have fought with the sun at our backs." Actually, Itsuse said this to Jimmu right after he got shot, but look, it's all made up anyway, so don't blame me for punching it up a little. After burying his brother at Kameyama Shrine, Jimmu heeded Itsuse's advice and marched his army as far east as he could, all the way to the coast. That way, they could turn around and attack the tribes of Kansai, with the sun backing them up. Upon arriving in Kumano, they were all promptly knocked unconscious. Not off to a great start. Fortunately, they were all saved by a local farmer who was wielding the sword of the thunder god Takamikazuchi. Yes, the same sword that is also a god in its own right, and was born from the blood that spilled when progenitor god Izanagi decapitated his own son, Kagutsuchi the fire god, and in a dream sent to him by Amaterasu, the farmer learned that the sword/god was conveniently buried on his own property, and he used it to slay the dark demons of Kumano that had knocked out Jimmu and his army, and then he gave Jimmu the sword. So that's that. While Jimmu was encamped on the current site of Asuka Shrine in Shingu, he received a message from the gods in the form of Yatagarasu, a 3-legged crow. Following the crow's guidance, Jimmu climbed to the top of a mountain, and from there surveyed his path forward. Today, Kamikura Shrine is built atop that same mountain. Jimmu's men then followed the crow north to the land of Yoshino. Yoshino was at that time ruled by 2 brothers. Jimmu dispatched Yatagarasu to demand that the brothers ally with him, and they responded with the now traditional Kansai greeting of arrows to the face. However, immediately after ordering his men to attack Jimmu's army, the older brother surrendered. But he was only feigning surrender while he laid a trap for Jimmu. So what was the point of the whole business with the brother attacking and then surrendering to Jimmu? Well, you see, there used to be a place in Yoshino named Kaburazaki, or Arrowhead Cape, and this incident explains why it was called that. I've ignored all the other times this has happened, but basically everything that happens in these stories is to justify why a place is called what it is. The older brother, being a paranoid fellow, had a pit trap installed in his palace. The same palace he had just invited the demigod to visit. Unfortunately for him, the younger brother divulged the details of his sibling's plan to Jimmu, and the Emperor's men forced the chief at sword point to step into his own trap. The whole trap thing must have stuck with Jimmu, because his next move was to invite all the local chieftains to a big feast. A feast where all the waitstaff were armed with daggers. On Jimmu's cue, all of his enemies found themselves grasping at their slit throats. Having eliminated all his competition inland, Jimmu marched his forces back towards the Osaka coast, with the sun both figuratively and literally at their backs. Jimmu conquered Osaka, and as revenge for his brother, he put the whole opposing army to the sword. He was crowned emperor in Asuka, where the imperial palace would have been when these legends were written. And just to make sure that nobody disputed that Jimmu was definitely royalty, he engaged in the most noble tradition of marrying his cousin. As a demigod, Jimmu's supposed existence was very important to the imperial system post-1868, when Emperor Meiji successfully re-established the emperors as de facto rulers of Japan. Most emperors were venerated as gods at various Shinto shrines, but Meiji wanted to refocus Shinto as a religion venerating the emperors above all others. February 11th was established as a holiday to venerate Meiji's supposed predecessor. The holiday was abolished after World War II due to its nationalistic origins, and the modern National Foundation Day celebrates not just Emperor Jimmu, but also the constitutions of both Imperial and modern Japan, which date, apparently coincidentally, to February 11th. While Jimmu's importance has diminished over the years, the true breakout character in his story is Yatagarasu. The three-legged crow is particularly common around Hongu Shrine, but you can see it everywhere in the Kumano region. True to form, the Yoda of Emperor Jimmu's saga is by far the most popular character.